Now, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, we are up to law and licensing.
If it's okay with the chair, I've got some selective ones, and then we'll look at time and see what you want to do. Is that okay?
That is fine.
So I'm going to ask the board to keep up. Sorry. We're going to go to agenda item 16.2. This is R277-497, School Accountability Systems. This is
Do
an
we have a
amendment.
16.2?
Yes.
Mine is 16.3. 16, okay, go ahead.
Okay. The committee moves that the board approve R277-497, School Accountability System Draft 2 on second and final reading.
Okay, the motion is the committee moves that the board approve R277-497, School Accountability System Draft 2 on second and final reading. All in favor? Raise your hand. All opposed? That passes 12-1 with Member Klein in opposition. Member Hymas, or Chair Hymas, back to you.
Thank you. I'm going to jump, I'm going to skip and then come back to one in particular, but I'm going to skip over to 16.8. This is R277-496, K3 reading software licenses. The committee moves that the board approve R277-496, K3 reading software licenses, draft 1 on second and final reading.
Okay, the motion on the floor is the committee moved that the board approve R277-496, K3 reading software licenses, draft 1 on second and final reading. All in favor? Raise your hand. All opposed? We have one, we have 13 in favor and Member Bogus in opposition. Okay? Oh, were you?
I was not, I hadn't, one way or the other.
Oh, you're a no too. Okay. And Member Klein. Sorry, Member Klein. Go ahead.
Agenda item 16.10, R277-613, LEA policies and training regarding bullying, cyberbullying, hazing, retaliation, and abusive conduct. This is an amendment and continuation. The committee moves that the board continue and approve R277-613, LEA policies and training regarding bullying, cyberbullying, hazing, retaliation, and abusive conduct, draft 3 on second and final reading.
Okay, the committee moves that the board continue and approve R277-613, LEA policies and training regarding bullying, cyberbullying, hazing, retaliation, and abusive conduct, draft 3 on second and final reading. All in favor, please raise your
I
hand.
have a question.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, you're good.
Thank you, Vice Chair Hart. I'm just wondering, Mr. Hymas, if you could answer why you guys removed the parental notification in line 1. Because I see that it's in line 138 and in line 139. I'm just not clear on why it's changed. What prompted the change to remove timely manner?
I'm going to have to pull this up. I'd be not opposed to any staff feedback.
So I don't know, but on 141, it does designate the format in which notification is provided to a parent and maintained by the LEA on line 141.
And would you like
Ben
to?
Rasmussen, Director of Law and Professional Practices. It's on 144.
It was just moved. It wasn't removed.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Member Davis, is that a light for a question?
It's just in queue. I have one more
Okay,
that we found.
all right. All in favor, raise your hand. Yes, please raise your hand, all in favor. Okay. So that motion passes 13-1 with Klein opposed. 12-1, I'm sorry, correction, 12-1. Member Klein still opposed. Okay, go ahead.
16.12, R277-314, provider-specific licenses. The committee moves that the board approve R277-314, provider-specific licenses, draft 2 on second and final reading.
The committee moves that the board approve R277-314, provider-specific licenses, draft 2 on second and final reading. Any questions? All in favor, raise your hand. All opposed, raise your hand. That is what, yes. And that passes 11 to 2 with Member Bogus and Member Klein opposed.
Two more, Chair.
Sure.
Unless we can keep
No,
going.
go ahead.
But 16.9, again, we're jumping back into the agenda. This is R277-62, or 721, Prime Pilot Program. The committee moves that the board approve R277-721 Prime Pilot Program Draft 1 on second and final reading.
The committee moves that the board approve R277-721 Prime Pilot Program, Draft 1 on second and final reading. Any questions? All in favor, raise your hand. Okay, all opposed? Okay, that was 10 to 3 with Member Green, Member Bogus, and Member Klein opposed. Speak fast,
I know,
Alex.
I've got two, I've got another one. Every time Angie comes up, I've got another one. Agenda item 16.3. I want to just double check. Okay, agenda item 16.3, sections from R277-920. This is sections 5 and 12, school improvement and leadership development. The committee moves that the board approve R277-950, sections 5 and 12, school improvement and leadership development, draft 1 on second and final reading.
The committee moves that the board approve R277-950-5 and -12, school
920.
improvement and leadership development, draft 1 on second and final reading.
That should be 920, Chair.
Sorry, I do have, so now that that's on the floor, can I?
Yes,
So
you
there
may.
was some a misunderstanding, and I'm going to invite Deputy Stallings to come up here a
Nine.
sixth time.
Oh, but
This is on 920, this is in section 5. This is draft 1, but I'm going to propose a draft 2.
Okay.
And I'm going to ask Deputy Stallings to speak to this,
Yes.
because my brain is full and hers never gets full.
Yes.
So, please.
Thank you. Angie Stallings, Deputy Superintendent of Policy. The short reason for why Draft 2 versus Draft 1 is we have two sections within USBE that have a role in this. And the one section took what was in rule and recalculated, put percentages in. When the other section reviewed it, in between committee and today, they realized that the old language that was in rule was actually incorrect. It was not in compliance. So although the calculation was appropriate, the original language was not accurate. So the draft 2 has what is the current accurate language and aligns with our ESSA plan. Anything you want to add? So.
what lines are those?
It's actually just lines 19 through 22. 18 has, 18 through 22.
Draft 2. Draft 2.
We're looking, we're going to look at a
920.
draft 2.
Draft,
Okay.
draft 2.
It's not in the.
Is it not on there? I can pass around my paper. Oh,
Is there any way, or is that the packet? Are you showing the packet?
Do you have any others, member?
I do have another one.
It's there. It wasn't refreshed, sorry. So
Okay.
if you go
Look at
down.
line 18.
That's not it. You're on 490.
Right there. Stop.
There we go.
Change. That shows the change right there. The red language is being deleted and replaced with if the LEA is the lowest 5%.
Oh, yes, this is what we had, okay,
That's it.
yeah.
That's the only change.
yes. Understood. So we are now, and I misstated it, so I need to restate. The committee moved that the board approve R277-920-5 and -12,
Draft 2.
draft 2, on second and final reading. All in favor? Raise your hand. All opposed? You're opposed, Member Reel? Oh, okay. 11-1 with Member Klein opposed. Yep.
One more, Chair?
One more?
Point of information, that math doesn't add up.
12-1.
12-1.
Okay, thank you.
I am sorry. I'm just doing subtraction and not doing it well.
No, I'm not.
Okay.
I wanted to make a comment on that last one,
Oh, sure.
but I wasn't given the opportunity. So I would just say I
Go ahead.
take umbrage
Member.
with this rule, the way it's disaggregating students into groups based on race, implying that needs-based comes from a student's race. If it was English language learning, if it was special needs, if it was something like that, but special needs don't come based solely on race.
On race. Thank you. And I'm sorry, I didn't pay attention to the lights.
Agenda item 16.4, R277-618, Homeless Teen Center Grant Program. The committee moves that the board approve R277-618, Homeless Teen Center Grant Program, Draft 3, on second and final reading. And then once you state that, there's another draft that is in, I believe it's in backup. I have a copy of it here, Draft 4, that I'd like to discuss for a fellow board member.
Oh, okay. The board member talked
Board
to you about
member
that.
Carey,
Okay.
who's
The motion on the floor is that the committee, that the board approve R277-618 Homeless Teen Center Grant Program, Draft 3, on second and final reading. Member Hymus.
I'd like to put before the board, I don't know how to word this. Oh, you're so good, thank you. My substitute motion is that the board approve R277-618 Draft 4 on second and final reading.
Any comment? Do we have a second? Do we, if we're
We need a second
substituting, we
because
would see
it's-
what,
yeah.
yes.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a second from Member Earl.
I'm going to speak, this
Go
is
for it.
difficult, I'm speaking for Vice Chair Carey.
Yeah.
And he has put some work in on this rule. I think he's worked with a couple of the board members, and hopefully they speak up here with some of their thoughts. One of the things that Vice Chair Carey was concerned about was the availability to connect with spiritual and religious resources. That was taken out when we looked at draft either 1 or 2. It has since been put back in. And then there was some wording specifically on line 52 of draft 4 that Vice Chair Carey really preferred. He preferred the wording availability to connect. He really wanted that in there. I don't know how to emphasize this greatly for him, but he felt that it did a much better job of just having a resource available. And so I'm going to speak to, I will speak to that, and then if you don't mind, Vice Chair, I'll just open up or let others speak to if they'd like.
Yeah. Does anyone else have any comments to that?
I do have a comment. I actually would like to make a substitute motion that we postpone this item until we can have additional discussion. Is that possible or not?
I would second that.
So,
In order to speak to that, if I could, I'll wait for your direction.
Yeah, go ahead. I mean, it's a motion on the floor, so go
Okay.
ahead.
I would just invite Deputy Stallings, since this is one of the agenda items that,
She asked.
when I asked what we need to put forth today, this was one of them, so hopefully we can hear from staff.
Carol, do you? Go ahead.
Additionally, before staff goes on, if we need to vote on, I can tell you that, Member Carey's, if we vote on draft 3 and that goes through, it will suffice. It's just not his greatest desire. I don't know how to word it for him.
understand.
This is why you can't leave board meeting. Hopefully they're
Yeah.
listening.
Let it be a lesson to you.
late at night. I, well, no, there's some things in here that I think.
Member Lear, do you have reservations?
I do.
Okay.
Well, we're on a motion to postpone.
We're on a
So you
motion to
vote 2 or
postpone,
4.
so we'll just vote to postpone.
And I cut off staff.
Oh,
if you
yeah.
remember.
Staff, would you like to address that, please?
So Chief of Staff Sarah Young, in working with the LEAs, this would delay our ability to move forward with both issuing an application as well as funding. So it's a question of being able to provide those funds to the field before the start of the school year at the interest of the legislative intent.
Member Lear, did that raise a question for you?
No, I just would like to speak at some point to
Yes.
this draft, because I have some reservations about this draft.
The motion on the floor is a motion to postpone, so we need to
Okay.
see if we're going to postpone it and whether you're going to talk now or later.
Gotcha. Thank you.
So all in favor of postponing this item to the next duly noticed board meeting, please raise your hand. We're going to do a roll call vote. Sorry, folks. Member Bogus?
Yes.
Member Booth? Member Klein?
Yes.
Member Davis?
No.
Member Earl?
Yes.
Member Green?
Yes.
Member Hymus?
No.
Member Carey? Member Lear?
No,
Member Norton? Member Reel?
No.
Member Straight? Just so you know, we're going to have to meet again. We have too many pending items.
Say what?
We're going to have a special session if that,
Yes.
No, I don't want to have a special session.
what? Yes?
Yes, that does.
Member Wood?
No.
Member Moss?
Yes.
And I'm a no.
Can I ask a question on that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sarah Young, is there a code or a bill that passed that initiated this rule in the first place? I don't see one referenced.
Member
Or
Young?
is this
Or
just a unilateral,
Chief of
a rule
Staff
that
Young.
we created unilaterally?
It was a request from appropriation from Representative Perucci that was funded. It is listed in the COBE, but it does not have an associated bill language associated with it.
Is that something you could send out to us? The
I'm happy to send the
whenever it's-
COBE link right now.
are we supposed to be,
Okay, so the vote is, no, it's the vote, it passed. Seven in favor, 6
You have
opposed.
to have
it has to
8.
be 8?
Oh, that's right, it does have to be 8.
Guys,
Postpone, you just have to have a simple majority.
this is my
Is it
motion.
postponed a simple majority?
No, it's, our bylaws say it always has to be.
A simple majority of the full board.
Utah code states that a vote of the board has to be at least 8 votes.
Yeah, it does. It has to be
have
8.
8 votes.
Majority of the board.
A majority of the board for everything.
Always 8.
So-
It's galled me many times.
So that does not get postponed.
Waste on your own.
So Member Lear,
I'm sort of caught off guard. My feeling is, and we spent a lot of time discussing this in committee, and a number of us have had experience with these teen centers. And my experience is that these teen centers are great places, but they are, aside from being located in schools, they're largely hands-off. They don't put additional burdens on the schools, in my experience and my understanding. And without more discussion with those people I know who, for instance, work at the East High Teen Center, this looks to me like it puts some additional burdens, and they, if they're lucky, they have half a paid staff person to manage these centers. And I want to make sure that this isn't putting more of a responsibility on the high school staff in the case of the one I know. And it looks to me like it is. I'm also not sure what the extended language about FAFSA mean? I mean, I don't know what that's good, that's bad. I'm generally in favor of helping students with FAFSA applications or making them available.
It's okay.
But there's language in here that I'm just not sure if that helps or hurts. So I think we need to pass this. The committee voted on the previous draft, and I'm not prepared to vote on this without the opportunity to talk to some people at the high school. But postponing isn't a very
Okay,
realistic
well,
option.
there's
Thank you.
another.
Well, I just wonder, staff, the timeline on this, if we were to have a meeting, and I'm not suggesting that's board leadership's role to suggest when a meeting is, but when would a meeting need to take place by in order to have the time to review this?
So I know that staff and the policy project had plans to present this in a technical help session at the Utah Rural Schools Conference that is happening the second week of July.
I have some problems with this thing.
None of it passed in committee. They moved it out to keep working on it.
I guess for me, it would be dependent on when it sounds like the leadership is going to put a meeting together. It sounds like it should probably happen sometime in June. And if that were the case, would that be sufficient time to prepare for the
That was my recommendation.
URSA conference?
Yeah, with the,
I know.
want me to,
I think we're gonna need to.
A hesitant, yes. Yes, because you have to, but you'd rather not. Okay. I can answer that for me. That's
Well,
good.
Can I ask, Molly?
Yeah.
If there are not a bunch of lights about this, can I ask Matt a further question about what my recollection was of the committee's decision?
But can I
And
answer
if I'm-
Matt's question
Yeah.
first?
Okay.
Sure.
Sarah answered half of it.
Member,
Superintendent.
Superintendent Dixon, if you'd like
I'm a
to.
non-voting member.
Yes. There you go.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think it's an important question to ask, and if we backwards map, so the technical assistance that we have a captive audience of, you've been there, you know, Member Hymas, so you have all of the rural schools who might be interested and staff members there who might be interested with technical assistance. So mapping from that means they would have been, the application would have been approved and out, and they would have shown interest. So that's generally a month's time. So it goes back to, I guess, when that meeting can be held. Do we have, it's the second week in July, right? Which puts us, can we do all of that in a month's time if we are meeting June 12th? That's how I'm thinking about it.
I think we are.
So I guess, Chief of Staff Young, the technical assistant, just so everybody around the table is clear, the technical assistant would be to fill out the application?
That is correct. Trying to provide supports related to the fact that this is an expansion of the program. As staff, I will tell you, our goal is to try and always release applications prior to the end of the month of June, because we note that many of our school administrators are on 11-month contracts, so that July period tends to be challenging for them. So my hesitation is just trying to figure out the ability of staff to turn around an application, that is of quality and yet is still available to the field prior to some of our administrators going on leave so that they don't miss out on an opportunity.
So if I may continue on with that line of thinking then, I guess, and I think we have precedents for this. Normally, staff would not act on putting an application together until we have a rule in place and we hear your vote. Perhaps if it's the will of the board, we could start working on an application, which is kind of an expansion of the program with some new elements to it, and then have that ready for your consideration, just to make sure you know what the application looks like in accordance with whatever that vote would be on the 12th. I would hate for staff to have to wait until after that to even start putting an application together. That would be at the will of the board, but that's an alternative that might mitigate the concern.
Yeah, if you would, it's your turn.
Okay.
We didn't vote to
I
postpone.
wanted to, is that?
We did not vote to
I-
postpone, so debate is
Were you wanting me
continuing.
to address that, or?
I think I just wanted to postpone.
He's just putting it on.
And my question was to Chair Hymas, or maybe Angie remembers, my recollection of this meeting conclusion on this issue was giving direction to staff to put some language in that we directed them to. It wasn't to say, bring us back something else. It was, here's what we want in there, please put it in and we are supportive. So to find this draft that, and when you said expansion of program, Sarah, I wasn't sure if I heard that to mean, this seems to expand what the LEAs running these teen centers would have to do. If you meant expansion of program to mean there are gonna be more teen centers, or maybe it's both. But it just concerns me because I know at East High School, they had a hard time at minimum wage paying somebody for half of a contract. And they would not be able to do the collaboration and the connecting with and the kinds of things that they are being, that are suggested in this final draft. And that troubles me because I absolutely want the teen center I know about to get more money.
Okay, Member Wood.
Yes, I would speak
I'm
against this
sorry.
motion to move draft 4 and go back
yeah,
to
you
move
are.
draft 3. Draft 3 was articulated the way we as a board asked it to. There's a number of additional things that draft 4 requires. And you have to remember, this is an application, so to have a family care plan, they're not sure what students they will be caring for yet. So I don't believe that would be appropriate for the application purpose. I also see there were changes that were made specifically, motions made in committee that were now removed in draft 4. So I would ask the board to vote against draft 4, and I call the question.
Okay, that was, I'm going to correct an error I made. I've
Yeah,
been,
because
I've been
waiting.
reminded 3 times that I skipped over Member Earl.
Just a couple things. Draft 3, and there's a couple things in here. When it comes to this, the teen center, the only measurement tools are the number of students that are served by the teen center annually. In other words, the more students you're serving, then the greater the success. We don't have very many programs that we just say, okay, just show up and then we're gonna call it success. This is a very specific, or at least it was supposed to be, very specific program. And we don't even know if we're meeting the needs of the kids that it was supposed to be targeting. Without actually having some kind of measurement tool in here, just measuring students, it's not an accurate measurement tool. There has to be something more to it. Specifically, when we're talking about including some kind of a family care plan, that's what you have 2 entities in here. You have the wraparound services, and it talks about that. The wraparound services means services that bring families, providers, and key members of the family's social support network together to collaborate to build a customized plan of care that responds to the unique needs of the child and the family. So that's not part of this? If it is, then we better have something in here. This is a definition, but then we don't really have anything in there. And maybe someone else can speak to this too. Unaccompanied minors that are homeless versus homeless families with children. And if you've got children that are part of a homeless family, then certainly you should be working with family members in order to not duplicate services for one thing, but to get the best bang for our buck. Sorry, it's getting late. My mind's not working real well. So I just think whether it's this one or the other one, we've got to have something more accurate measurements versus just the number of kids showing up in the class or in this program. And then also, we need to make sure that we're actually putting in here those wraparound services.
Okay.
I don't know of any students that can receive treatment, whether it's mental health, physical health, any of that, without receiving permission or whatever from families, unless there's legally documented ability to do otherwise. There has to be something in regards to that. So there should be something in here.
Okay, so what we have on the floor is a substitute motion. Then we had a call to question. So we now, having heard the feedback that I should have called on earlier, we have a call to question. Do we have a second? On the call to question? On the substitute motion? We have no more comments. So let's just vote. Okay, all in favor of, oh, wait. That was the problem. Did you want to bring back? Okay, so that's why you made the call to question. All right, all in favor, raise your hand.
I'm sorry, what are we doing?
Restate the motion, please.
Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay, the substitute motion is that the board approve R277-618, draft 4, on second and final reading. This is going to have to require.
And we're doing them.
And we are calling the question on that motion, the substitute.
Yeah.
Oh, so we're just voting. We don't have to call the question. All right, so your vote right now is on the substitute motion. On draft 4. Yes. Okay? Member Bogus?
Yes.
Booth? Klein?
I'm against all drafts.
Okay. Okay, we are voting on what is highlighted. Are you
4.
voting on draft 4? Do you want to see that go into rules? So no. Yes. And Member Klein, you are a no? Member Davis?
No.
Vice Chair Earl?
Yes.
Member Green? Member Hymus?
Yes, I am voting yes.
Thank you. Member Lear?
No, I'm voting no.
Member, Member Reel?
Real no.
Member Straight?
No.
Member Wood?
No.
Member Moss?
Yes.
And Member Hart is a no. So that is. Eight noes, 5 yeses. The noes it fails. So would there be another motion from the floor, or?
Yeah, go back to the original.
I think it's out there, and Member Wood, are you going to restate your motion? Or is it it's the committee motion?
Yeah,
would be the
but I'm
draft
wondering
3.
if anybody else has a different motion.
Do we need, like to postpone?
No? Okay.
I will make a motion to repeal.
Repeal?
Repeal the rule.
Oh, shoot.
You need a second.
Do we have,
Start there, Natalie. Or Molly.
wait, so are you also making a motion to discuss that with whoever made the rule, the law?
There is no.
There's no code on this?
Just rule.
No, no code.
Oh, okay, well,
Just money.
all right, so the motion's been made to repeal the rule. Do we have a second? We have no second.
Second it just to see what she has to say.
Okay, we have a second from Member Bogus. Member Klein, would you like to speak to your amendment, or
Well-
your motion?
I don't have any prepared comments, but Jenny mentioned several things, but beyond that, I don't believe this is the role of the schools. There are welfare programs, there are homeless shelters, there are all kinds of community resources. It's not the role of the school to provide these kind of facilities for teens, especially when they're incentivizing as much use as possible by saying that however many people use it, that is the measure of success. Like the more kids use it, like we don't want more kids using a teen center because they're homeless. That's the state incentivizing teen homelessness, and I don't agree with that premise, nor do I agree with the wraparound services, the whole child approach, or the schools providing mental or medical services for students.
Okay.
And a lot of other reasons.
Member Hymus, did you have a comment on that?
Are there any other questions? I'll call the question if I need
had one
to.
more comment.
Are you going to call the question, or are you
Yes.
going to? Okay, the question has been called. Is there a second?
Sure.
Okay, there's a second for a call the question. We are now voting on calling the question. All in favor of calling the question, say yes. Raise your hand. Raise your hand on calling the question. Okay,
I'm a no.
there are, so, wait, raise your hand again, please. All in favor? Okay, all opposed? Yes. All opposed? Are you? Sarah, put your
Mark them
hand,
down, they're not
your
listening.
hand down.
Oh, okay, we're done.
Your hand up.
Okay, my hand is yes,
Okay.
call the question.
Calling the
No.
question. No. No,
I
y'all.
want to call a question, yes.
You just raised your hand to vote no on calling.
Confused, Molly.
You only get to be confused once, and that's
I'll remind
twice.
you of that.
All in favor of calling the question, raise your hand.
Okay.
Yes, because you're making me.
Okay, all opposed? Thank you.
I'm the only no.
That motion passes. We are calling the question with Member Earl opposed. We now are moving to the motion, which is Member Klein's motion that the committee repeal R277, 618 on second and final. Well, repeal. She repealed. So all in favor of repealing the rule, raise your hand. Okay, all opposed, raise your hand. All that aren't voting, please raise your hand. That would be me. Okay. That motion fails. She abstained. That motion fails with Member Klein voting in support and Member Bogus abstaining from a vote. All right, now we are back to the original motion. That the committee moves that the board approve R277, 618 Homeless Teen Center Grant Program, Draft 3. Draft 3. If we were in class, you'd put it on your fingers
And we appreciate
on second and final reading.
Somebody goes like this.
Okay, all in favor, raise your hand.
Yes, this is draft 3.
We're going to call that one out. We'll start from the bottom. Member Moss? Chair Moss?
No.
No. Member Wood?
Yes.
Member Straight?
Yes.
Member Reel?
Yes, you're,
Member Reel?
yes.
Yes.
Member Lear?
Yes,
Member Hymus?
Yes.
Member Green?
I know.
Member Earl?
No.
Member Davis?
Yes.
Member Klein?
No.
Booth?
Yes.
And Member Bogus?
No.
And I'm a yes. You, I only giggled because you already voted for all the.
Yes.
Are you, yes or no?
Oh,
I'm a yes.
I'm gonna,
Can you call out that vote with the 3? You have to use your microphone, please.
yes. See if we can-
9 in favor and 1, 2, 3, 4 opposed.
And you have to say their names.
Well, I'm sure we'll see.
Member
that.
Bogus,
I want to. I'm gonna.
Member Klein, Member Earl, and Member Moss were no's.
Okay. Member Davis, did you have one more for finance?
Can I ask, but if
Oh,
we're
I'm
still in
sorry.
law and licensing, there are 5 more. If they require discussion, then I'm happy to save them. If not, I'd be happy we could take 3 minutes and vote them out.
Here,
And I'm not telling you how to vote, I'm just saying, don't discuss it.
okay. If there is any discussion, then that's automatically,
If
we're
it's
just
not
moving on to the
discussable,
name.
I won't discuss it.
Okay.
If that's okay
Now,
with
I
the
need,
board.
the board needs to understand, we still have to do executive session.
We could do that tomorrow.
That we just put it off.
Okay.
Bump that till tomorrow.
If that's the case, let me just do one final.
Okay.
If that's the case.
I thought we weren't
And it would be
meeting tomorrow.
agenda item 16.13, amendments to board bylaws.
No,
No?
we are?
My Gmail.
All right.
Yeah. Oh,
All right, go for it.
Oh, it'll load eventually. Then it'll be here.
The motion before the board is that the committee moves that the board approve
Oh,
Article
this one.
5, Draft 1 of the board
Okay,
bylaws.
I get you.
Okay, the motion, where is it? There it is. The committee moves that the board approve Article 5, Draft 1 on the board bylaws. All in favor? Does anybody, I'm sorry. Does anybody have any?
I'm sorry, I warned you, man.
Okay.
Do you have questions?
I do have a question, but I need to pull the bylaws first.
Okay, Member Lear?
No, I'm sorry.
Member Davis?
I'm of a double mind. I'm going to speak against the motion, but I won't be disappointed if it passed because it's kind of a pain. But I will say, just for leadership purposes, in full disclosure, prior to having this, it probably tripled our working with the public. So, we got constant calls, texts, phone calls, really, that just said, is this what the board's about? Is this what the board thinks? Is this? And so that bit right there reduced that dramatically.
Right.
So
Yeah.
just so people are aware, I
Can
do
I-
it all the time, but I won't be crying tears, but
Can someone
it's kind of a hassle.
tell me, doesn't this require a two-thirds? And we are missing members. Are you shaking your head yes? We're missing members. I'm not sure we want to,
Let's wait for a full board, is that what
Yes.
you're thinking?
I think it would be.
And I will wait with my question.
Can I, well, someone make a move to postpone. Okay, okay. All in favor of postponing that motion?
Okay.
I feel comfortable with that since it's a board bylaw. I'd like
so we'll have-
everybody to weigh in.
We'll have 5 on the next
Yes.
agenda.
So, Chair Moss, would you,
So I remember I still have a
while I
finance.
crack open one, why don't we do the finance one and then be ready to talk about plans for moving forward?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. This is the statewide online education program one. The committee moves that the board approve R277-726 statewide online education program draft 1 on second and final reading.
Could you tell me the agenda number?
It's item 15. Wait. 15. 15.9.
On mine, it's 13.10 if you have a different copy.
Okay. Is it 13.9? Okay. Okay. It's .9. Are there, so the motion is that the board approve R277-726 statewide online education program, draft 1, on the second and final reading. Are there any questions? Seeing none, all in favor, raise your hand. All opposed, raise your hand. That motion passes with Member Bogus and Member Klein opposed. Okay, now, Chair Moss, that's as good as I could do.
Beautiful, absolutely outstanding. Items left, got a resolution, oops, sorry, got a resolution on the Constitution, we've got some executive session items. So my understanding from Brian is that we could take care of our executive session items tomorrow remotely after we finish our committee meetings. We could not take care of the remaining business because it wasn't noticed. But in seeking a study session to go on the next step on our strategic plan, the mission and vision, we had a lot of feedback that looked like June 12th was a pretty good date for that. So we could notice up the remaining substantive items for that date, if that's a date that's going to work. If not, we can send out a doodle poll. But those are the options. Tomorrow, we could do the executive session stuff, I think. Yes, Ben?
There are UPAC action items. Those haven't been noticed for tomorrow. So we can, or you're moving the
Well,
UPAC action
okay.
items till tomorrow?
All right. I think my
or
understanding
those-
from Brian was that some could be, but perhaps not everything.
Yeah, I would say that the two litigation items that I have can wait till tomorrow because there's no action needed on them. I just need to, yeah. And then as far as the UPAC items, if you want to invoke the urgency, or what is it, the emergency, unexpected, kind of delay provision of the Open and Public Meeting Act, and I think you could push, you can push the UPAC items till tomorrow.
Well, I guess, so we're generally on, members, tomorrow from 9 to 12, 12:30, right, for our committee meetings. What's the appetite for taking lunch and then coming back on to do some of this work versus doing it tonight versus bumping it out to the point where it's connected to our study session? I think under the emergency provision, we could clean up the UPAC stuff tomorrow, but not the committee stuff, is my understanding, right? So, I think in like 1 to 2, like we finish our committee meetings, take a lunch, come back, log on for half an hour, 45, knock that stuff out, and then we come back to the substantive stuff, June 12th or whatever date we decide. Yeah, I think so, right?
Hold on, I might have something that has
You might.
Someone's birthday, we're gonna.
I have to what? Well, let's see. I mean, that sounds like it makes sense. I think the last committee ends at 12:30. They give us a half hour to log on, then come back at 1 and plan to be done by 2. So we could do a hybrid? June.
I can't come on June 12th. No, the date says June 12th. Oh, there were 2 doodle polls. Doesn't mean what we can do. Doesn't need a vote, so we can.
Executive with the UPAC stuff and the others. We can do all executive stuff tomorrow then.
Executive stuff tomorrow.
Right, and then we can do the other stuff June 12th or whatever, right, okay. All right, it looks like we can do everything that we need to do in executive session tomorrow, 1 to 2, if that works for everybody. We'll finish our committees, take half-hour break. The other,
Sir, I have a question.
yes,
So is it your intent that we are meeting all online tomorrow afternoon, we are hybrid, and that we are finishing by 2?
I think
Do I understand
hybrid.
that correctly? I just want to make sure.
Some will be here and I assume wouldn't get home in time, so I think we probably run it hybrid, 1 o'clock to 2. And, yeah. Use the breakout, yeah.
Do with audit.
Okay, well, if that works, let's try 1 to 2, and then either we can revisit the doodle poll, but it looked like June 12th was a good date for mission and vision, and then we can add the cleanup substantive items that we didn't get to tonight.
Yeah, can I make a
Right.
comment? So, just a comment, just call it my board member comment, I guess. We only have 7 people that have responded to the survey that was sent out. We need every member to go on and do those survey questions. This is your principal speaking. If you haven't gone on or you have trouble with the survey, will you please contact me directly and I will get you some help? But we need more than 7 members' feedback for our employees. They
So-
deserve feedback from all of us.
May I just offer something?
Yeah.
Could we start a new survey? Because I go in there and it says, thank you for your response, and I scroll through all the names, and guess whose name is not there?
Okay. All right.
So I
We'll
don't
get
know if
with you.
anyone else is having that problem,
We'll get with you.
but yeah.
Yeah. But you told on yourself. You already did it, so you're good.
No, I didn't.
Oh, you didn't do it?
Didn't
Okay.
do it. I'm trying to do it.
Okay. I know. I know. Yes.
Did anyone else not get it?
You didn't get it?
No, I think I got it. This is one of those moments where it was like towards the end of the school year and I took a lot of surveys, so we
Oh,
just let me know
heck.
if I
It
took
went
it.
out again yesterday.
I
We
think-
don't,
I think I
we
took
have
it.
no way of telling if you did it or not.
Yesterday?
So,
Okay. I think I did it. I'll try.
Again, because we didn't have as many fill it out.
there is zero way to tell unless. You can go back in, but there's no way for anyone else to tell if you, so Matt, you can just go back in and see if you have answers. Okay, own it. Thank you. Yeah, really and truly, in all seriousness, our employees deserve our feedback. Thank you.